Hello and good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Mueller here. Thanks for joining me for MeteoMark's weather. We have a lot to talk about. We have potential Tropical Cyclone 1 potentially here morphing right into Tropical Storm Alberto, likely becoming the first tropical storm of the Atlantic 2024 hurricane season. Yeah, it's going to be impacting Mexico and Texas as well. We'll see what the impacts are this week. And we're also watching a second area off the southeast coast here. The area of high pressure, the Bermuda High, could actually steer the system a little bit more towards the north. So we might be looking at a more Georgia, South Carolina impact here. We'll see exactly which areas will be impacted the greatest as we head throughout the week. We'll look at the rest of your tropics here and the heat wave and severe weather across North America and the Pacific. Let's get into it. And don't forget, if you haven't checked out my Hurricane 2024 Outlook, a link in the description down below and at the end of this video. Just wanted to start this out with a massive tropical satellite photo. Look how big our system here is in the Western Gulf. So starting off with our European model here, and I'll transition over to the GFS. So as we continue to go out here in time, potential Tropical Cyclone 1 over to potential for Alberto here, Tropical Storm Alberto. You can see that low pressure initializing here, likely becoming a tropical storm overnight on Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning. Here's the coastline of Mexico. And right here you have Tampico, Mexico, and then South Texas up here. It's likely to make landfall right into northern part of Mexico here, although that really doesn't matter where it makes landfall because this system is a massive system here. Look at the tropical moisture, the feeder bands all the way down in through parts of Cancun and Cozumel here. That's just going to continue to head west throughout the day on Wednesday into Wednesday night. Thursday, you can see landfall looks between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. on early Thursday morning before heading inland. Now, one thing to note, look at this massive heavy rain plume here across South Texas. San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Houston, Brownsville area. We could be looking at a tremendous amount of rain here, 4 to 8 inches. Southward, even more. This heads towards the Mexican mountains here that could produce some tremendous amounts of rain. Now, one thing to note here, you desperately need the rain here across Texas and Mexico. However, the ground being so dry and this coming down so quickly, you could actually get a scenario where this runs off very fast. And unfortunately, behind this system, we're looking at a system right over the Bay of Campeche. Once again, the Yucatan moving into the Bay of Campeche right around the 21st. So this is getting right into Friday afternoon into Friday evening here. Could we actually see this storm follow a similar path? Here it is. There's that area of low pressure, and it's moving up along the eastern Mexican coastline here towards South Texas. And as you can see here towards 8 p.m. on the 23rd, that surge of tropical moisture continues into South Texas towards the 24th. So getting into Monday afternoon of next week, we could be looking at a system in a very similar area and situation with some of the same areas getting flooding rains over and over again here as we get one system lining up after another here across the Western Caribbean into the Western Gulf of Mexico. Now, as we get into our system off the southeast coast, do I think this has a chance to develop? Well, it is looking pretty impressive initially here on the tail end of this frontal boundary northeast of Bermuda. There's Bermuda right in there. So it does look impressive. However, it does not have a lot going for it here. It does look like it's, there's the weakness in the isobars there, the bend in the isobars. This is towards 11 a.m. on Thursday morning, and it does start to bend around the subtropical high, more towards Georgia and northeast Florida and extreme South Carolina. So will this bring you some beneficial rain? Because I know some of you in North Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina were posting on my last couple videos saying you desperately would need the rain here. And it does look like by the 21st on Friday here, you do start to see a surge of moisture from North Florida, Georgia, into extreme South Carolina. So this is some good news. Other than that, it has a very narrow window of opportunity to develop. And it doesn't look that impressive at this point. So for the rest of the tropics, what is going on here? We actually have a lot going on. As you can see, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, you're going to be getting the outer bands of these tropical waves that are moving through Central America and the Western Gulf as well. But I want to draw your attention. There is a lot out here that's waiting in the MDR as we head through the end of the week. Look at Trinidad and Tobago, up to Barbados, the rest of the Lesser Antilles. This intertropical convergence zone is really going to start to fill in. Watch here the 24th. Let me just zoom out. 25th, 26th. We're just going to line these tropical waves up. And it almost looks like we have so many tropical waves by the end of the month here that we might actually have some storms developing out here. All right, so let's look at our system here on the GFS into the Western Gulf of Mexico. You can see it barreling throughout the day on Wednesday towards the Mexican and South Texas coastline here. That initial shot of heavy rain across South Texas and parts of northeastern Mexico here will really make its impact. You do need the rain desperately, but my fear is it's going to be quick and fast, and then eventually it's going to lead to some flooding and some runoff here. So that's going to be too much of a good thing. You can see as we head throughout Thursday here by 11 p.m., it's well into Mexico by this point. So we're going to be watching those feeder bands just continue here into the Gulf of Mexico. And we have another big system out here that's showing up pretty readily across parts of Central America towards Belize and the Yucatan. And look at this. Jamaica and the Cayman Islands could get some outer bands from this as well. I want to make note of our system here off the southeast coast. This run of the GFS is kind of picking up on the system a bit better towards 11 p.m. on Wednesday evening. And then look at this as we cruise right into Thursday morning. It's right in line, pretty much just a little bit to the north of where the European model has it, bringing it right in between Daytona Beach and Jacksonville. It does not look that overly impressive, so I would not be surprised if this doesn't develop into a tropical storm because we got a very narrow window of opportunity, but it does bring some beneficial rains here to parts of North Florida and Georgia and extreme South Carolina. Now, as we go out here into the tropics, the intertropical convergence zone, at least through June 22nd, you can see it's pretty active out here. But we get a little bit of a drying trend here in the Lesser Antilles, and lots of tropical moisture here bottled up across Central America. There's that wave that was showing up here on the European model. It's also showing up here on the GFS crossing the Yucatan on the 21st. Look at this. This is a big old slug of moisture. You're getting quite the rainfall here across the Yucatan and the rest of Central America. So it's almost feeling like a monsoon for you. And then another wave as we head into the 23rd here. And I want to draw your attention right over here, just east of the Bahamas. Look at this monster wave. This was also showing up here on the European model, although it's coming in a little faster here on the GFS. It does start to encounter what appears to be potential wind shear with this low pressure, this area of low pressure across the East Coast. But look at down here, just southeast of Trinidad and Tobago. We got some big tropical waves starting to blow up here just southeast of you. And this tropical moisture train is just going to continue here across Central America. You can see by the 26th, we start to see another area across Cancun. So this could be a time where we have to watch it very closely, not just for Mexico, but for parts of Texas and Louisiana, because we're getting into a really dangerous weather pattern here where we could really start to line up some of these tropical waves and potential storms. And then look at here, another potential storm towards the 27th. This really does start to get a little bit better organized, but I do caution you, this is 222 hours out. So a lot can change between now and then. And look at out here. Massive amount of activity for this time of year out in the ITCZ. All right, so here we go with our European model and the mid-layer and high-layer dry air here. So you can see across the East Coast, lots of dry air to be had. We have some Saharan dust out here in the MDR, but look at the Western Gulf of Mexico and the Northwestern Caribbean. We're going to continue to watch that plume of tropical moisture head with our system into Texas and Mexico. And look at behind it as well. We get into the 21st here. Look at another surge of tropical moisture here, especially at mid layers here across the Western Caribbean. And there it is across the Gulf again, another potential system. there is our system off the southeast coast. As I said before, the narrow window of opportunity for development, here it is. It's got a little bit of a stream of moisture, but it's being choked off to the northwest and the southeast by dry air here. And that, I think, is going to be the thing that it's really difficult for a system to develop with that sort of thing. Not saying it's impossible, but at this point, it's very troubling for a system to get surrounded by dry air like that. But I wanted to leave you with this on the European model, June 28th. Look at the massive ITCZ out here, and then another potential surge of moisture here across the northwestern Caribbean, and then just northeast of the Bahamas. And we're taking a look at the GFS model here. Look at this. So we have our system there into the Western Gulf showing up pretty nicely here, just like it was on the European model. Now, as we go out here in time, you can see the Western Central Caribbean, just a massive surge of moisture. We do get some dry dust moving through the Lesser Antilles as we head through Friday into the weekend, but that's going to dissipate. You do have another surge, though. Look at the dust coming off the Cape Verde Islands. It's really showing up nicely here on the GFS. But the intertropical convergence zone just south of it seems unfazed by it. And as we get into Wednesday of next week, June 26th, look at these surges of tropical moisture across the Gulf and the Caribbean here. It's just going to continue in time here. And these waves, look at this. This is towards the 30th into the 31st. Some of these waves actually look like they're have so much moisture to work with. We could be talking about tropical storms way out here by the Cape Verdes. Let's go weekly here with our CFS. You can see, there's a little bit of a dry entity here across the Eastern Gulf, but there's the Western Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico, and then the ITCZ out here appearing very wet here into the Northern and Eastern Caribbean islands as well. As we head into the last couple weeks here of June, look at this. As we head towards the rest of June into the beginning of July, we see a surge here across the Eastern Caribbean. And as we head into that first week of July, look at this. We're really solidifying that tropical moisture and wave action here across the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico as we head through mid-July, late July here. There it is, targeting the Northeast Islands. Very concerned that these areas could see a major hurricane sometime this season. If we flip right over to that CANSIPS model there is June, but here's July. This is the key. This model's been really grabbing onto a massive quantity of high moisture content here into August, September, October, and November. In December, we still could be talking about storms out here. So for your tropics here, how much rainfall are we expecting? Well, Central America, the Yucatan, Belize, you're picking up some really beneficial rains here, 100 to 125 millimeters, 4 to 6 inches. That's really good for you as well. And then look at here. At least through the end of this week, Jamaica and the Cayman Islands pick up anywhere from 25 to 50 millimeters, about an inch or so. But, as we get throughout next week, it looks like the moisture content will be increasing as we head through the end of the month here. So watch out. Bahamas, you're kind of in a rain shadow here. You'll still pick up something, but Puerto Rico, 80 to 100 millimeters, that'll be on the increase as well towards the, 2.5 to 3.5 inch range. And as we head to the Eastern Caribbean here, through this weekend, you can see a little bit of tropical moisture here making its way into the Northern Lesser Antilles, Trinidad and Tobago here, 35 to as much as 50 millimeters. You're getting about an inch or so, 3/4 of an inch. Look at the Bahamas here, though. Much of the southeastern Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, really dry. That fills in a little bit as we head through next week. Surging tropical moisture here down towards Trinidad, Tobago, and then towards Puerto Rico as well. And there is our big tropical disturbance type thing that will be heading towards Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina next week. And Joe Dre hosts from the Johnson City, New York area on June 17th in the evening. You can see this beautiful shot of some massive thunderstorms off in the distance, that anvil really spreading out there. The sun way further west. The storms never really truly made it fully into Broome County, Johnson City area. However, it was quite a sight to behold, especially in this major heat wave. Nice captures there, Joe Drehos from Johnson City, New York. So as we look into the overnight hours, you can see there's two areas that we're going to be watching. These storms in the northeast will slowly taper down as the daytime heating, but still some of these could be strong. And then look at our big area out here in the plains. That's a big severe weather outbreak just continuing. That's going to, tap into all this moisture and that heat and humidity that will be heading east. And then this down here is with our potential tropical cyclone 1, possibly Alberto here in the making. Look at this. It's probably not going to be too much longer. And you can see as we head into 2 a.m. on Wednesday morning, look at these feeder bands heading north here towards the Texas coast and even down into Mexico here. It's probably going to make landfall just north of Tampico here and south of Brownsville, Texas. So let's just put this into motion. Look at all this moisture. It's going to funnel in, into Corpus Christi, up to Houston, Brownsville, and south into Mexico. Now, look at this expanse of tropical storm force winds already. If it's not a tropical storm yet, it will be very shortly here. And it'll just continue westward here. And, it's making its move here. It's likely to go up to a moderate tropical storm, possibly 50-mile-per-hour sustained winds. We'll have to see as we head 2 p.m. on Wednesday. You can see those feeder bands all the way across the Gulf of Mexico here. It's got a big, long connection here, and it is a very large radius, so it's a very large storm. So it's not going to intensify very rapidly because large storms do have especially this early in the game, have a hard time going through massive intensification. But look at this. Feeder bands just continuing westward here. San Antonio really getting in on the act. It's going to be a lot of heavy rain as we continue to go out in time here. And then look at this through early, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning here, 2 a.m. Wednesday morning. That heading westward here, it's going to become a massive heavy rain producer as it heads inland here. And this is probably going to be some life-threatening floods as some of these areas get into some mountainous terrain. So it's not looking good. And look at this. You can see this tropical moisture from the Bahamas all the way to South Texas here. And there's our tropical, disturbance out here northeast of the Bahamas. So that's another entity we'll be taking a look at here. And look at that. As we continue into the 20th here, Thursday, look at this. We're just going to continue lining up these feeder bands off of South Texas here and well inland into north central Mexico. And as we take a look at synoptic scale here, of course, into the northeast, the overnight hours, you get that lull in moisture and thunderstorm action. But look at this, 10 a.m. on Wednesday morning. We got big thunderstorms developing. Some of these could be strong, especially as we head into the afternoon hours. Watch out, Cleveland. This is towards noon. Toledo, Erie, Pennsylvania. You could do it all over again. Look at that, 1 p.m. right over Cleveland. Yeah, it'll cool you off, but you also have to watch out for the possibility that these storms could knock out your power, which would be horrible because, your air conditioning. So as we head through 5 p.m., you don't see too much here into the northeast. A few stray showers and thunderstorms over towards the Finger Lakes and Adirondacks here, the Tug Hill. But most of the activity here is into the Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and then we might do another severe weather outbreak out here into the plains. It's not going to be as bad as Tuesday, however. Now look what's happening up here into the northeast overnight. We get these disturbances move through Adirondacks, St. Lawrence Valley, into New England here. We could be looking at some stronger thunderstorms even around and north of Montreal here as we head through 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. So watch out. Some of these cells could be strong. And I just want to bring your attention off the southeast coast. Look at this system. It's coming in, and it looks like it's trying to wrap around some sort of low pressure system here. And the trend is to bring this a little bit further north than the peninsula. So Georgia and extreme South Carolina, we're going to watch this for you. And still for Florida, east coast of Florida as well. All right, so we take a look at our synoptic scale flow here, picking up where our HRRR model left off. You can see what's going to be happening as we continue through later Thursday into Friday. That ring of fire scenario around this big old Bermuda high is just going to continue. So outside of our tropical zones, we're going to be looking at a continued threat of strong to severe thunderstorms up and over this ridge of high pressure. Now, it may bring some temporary relief, but it also brings more heat and humidity. Now, as we head into the weekend, we're going to be looking at the possibility of some stronger thunderstorms in this area as some of these waves of low pressure move up around the high pressure system and essentially adding to the ring of fire. Now, as we head into the 23rd, into the 24th, look what's happening here. We actually start to see what appears to be a cold front, and that's exactly what it is, but it's also going to bring a round of severe weather to the Ohio Valley into the Northeast for later Sunday. So write that into your plans for the Ohio Valley, Eastern Great Lakes, Northeast, Southeast Canada. That is going to move. The great news is, look what builds in behind it. It's a big old area of high pressure and lots of lower humidity and some cooler temperatures. Now for our rainfall totals here, yeah, that's with our potential Alberto here in South Texas. We could be looking upwards of 4 to 8 inches in some of these locations. Look at over here towards Florida and Georgia. This is our other system. Of course, we could be looking at rainfall total a lot lighter, however. It'll still bring you some beneficial rains through the end of the week, though. You know, anywhere from 3/4 to up to 2 inches here. Some areas 3 inches. But it's South Texas. It's going to continue to get the lion's share of the heavy rain here into Mexico. Some of these areas could be 4 to 8 inch plus. But look at up here towards the Midwest. I'll get into your Canadian forecast as well. Lots of heavy rain around the ring of fire here. We could be getting some severe weather. And even here into the Northeast, we could be getting some, you know, where you get those isolated showers and thunderstorms pop up, some big gully washers, and then another tropical wave next week off the southeast coast. And let's take a look at our GFS precipitation here. It's further to the north here. Look at all the way into San Antonio, 4 to 8 inches. Watch out. Some areas could get even heavier. Looking across the Midwest here, Minnesota, Wisconsin, some of these heavier downpours with the severe weather, and even into the Northeast here as we get in through, we just pile it up every day. Some of those isolated strong to severe thunderstorms, they pop up and they just sit over the same area and dump some heavy rain. Does it really cool you off from this heat wave? Well, when the sun comes back out, the dew point and humidity just go even higher with the heat index. And then as we get into next week, look at this. We could be surging towards even more tropical conditions. And look at here into the southeast. Let me just back that up. I'll show you our tropical system that could be affecting Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina here. Anywhere from 3/4 to about 1.5 inches, close to 2 inches. Now for your Canadian weather, let's take a look, see what's going on. We've got a big active weather pattern as low pressure systems are going to be ejecting out of the U.S. Midwest here. That's going to head stormy conditions here across northern Ontario and Quebec. Look at all the quiet conditions out here out west and in the central provinces, however. Even quiet here in the southeast part of Canada. It's northern Quebec there through the 20th into the 21st until we get that high pressure building in. Then look at most of Canada looking dry until about the 22nd and the 23rd. This is where you're going to start to see the severe weather outbreak. That's going to break the heat across southeast Canada. As we get into the 23rd, into the 24th, that's going to drag a cold front through, but it's also going to bring a very rumbly time to your late weekend forecast here across Ontario and Quebec, especially southern areas over to New Brunswick. But the great news is it will break the heat, but it will also set us up for a series of low-pressure systems dropping out of central Canada. So our Canadian precipitation here, how is it looking? Most of southeast Canada, you'll get those ring of fire thunderstorms. It's northern and western parts of Ontario and Quebec is where you'll see most of that storm track. That'll continue as we head through the end of the month here. You can see the storm track coming up and over that ring of fire, that massive ridge down here into parts of the southeast U.S. And then a big area of interesting weather up here towards the Yukon as well. Most of these areas will be getting anywhere from 60, close to 100 millimeters, you know, anywhere from 2.5 to as much as 4 inches. And do I have anything to talk about out here into the Western Pacific? I don't in the Eastern Pacific. Look at out in the Western Pacific here. Yeah, the monsoon's alive and well up here in Japan and Southeast Asia and the Philippines. You're looking at a lot of rainfall here, but you know what? Until about the 24th, this may actually try to develop into something northeast of Vietnam and the South China Sea. But at this point, It doesn't look like anything major. We'll keep an eye on it here. Intertropical convergence zone out here east of the Philippines. Yeah, it's going strong, but not any wave looks really that menacing at this point. I got plenty more weather for you in just a moment, but take a look at my affiliate. Do you want some awesome maps? Check this out. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. So the heat is going to be on here across the east as we get into the Ohio Valley, the northeast. Much of the east here, it is going to be insane with all these 90s and heat index values of up to 105 to 110 in some of these areas as we get into Wednesday and into Thursday. Look at this. 90s, mid to upper 90s across the Ohio Valley, into New England, the Northeast here, and into Friday. This just continues to get worse. Pittsburgh, 99 degrees, 97 in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. This is just insane. As we head into Saturday, look at this. We start to see some evidence that we might see some cooler air, but you're really holding on to mid to upper 90s here across the Ohio Valley into Sunday as well. It's just going to be a baking miserable weekend here across the east, even into the deep south. Look at those 100-degree readings. We do start to get some evidence, though. Look at that. Monday, some 80s and even some upper 70s. Extended forecast for my hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna River Valley of New York and Pennsylvania. So we head through Wednesday through the weekend. Yeah, we could be seeing tremendous amount of heat continuing. Those temperatures between 90, 95, 96. Some areas even in excess of 97, 98. We have those heat index values upwards of a 100 to 110 in some of these warmer valleys. And watch this because, you know, especially Thursday. We'll see them Wednesday as well, but Thursday and a Friday, those showers and thunderstorms develop. Even a Saturday as well will start to break the heat. Not until next week, but we're going to continue those 90s into the weekend. But watch out. Some of those storms may contain damaging wind, large hail. They're very isolated, however. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.